Hey guys, it's Gary Wong with GaryWongRealty.com. People know me as the Christian Realtor. I'm also the author of the book on Vancouver real estate. Today, I'm privileged and honored to be able to interview a good friend of mine and also a very reputable builder, Sandro Stefanucci with Abstract Homes. Sandro, it's really great having you here.
Thanks, Gary.
So Sandro, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into the home building industry?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Probably in '82 is when I first started. Kind of joke a little bit about that. I always start, usually when you start in a business, you start from the bottom and you work your way up. I started from the top and worked my way down. I did a lot of cedar shake roofing in the early years and progressed from that point and just learned the real fundamentals and the foundational stuff of how to build a home right with my hands.
So Sandro, how did you transition that into what you're doing today?
That's a good question. I just found that I really loved working with my hands, and I really loved kind of creating and building things. I think ever since I was a kid, because I remember building tree forts as a kid. I had no idea how to do anything. I just picked it up. It was just real easy for me to pick up. So I transitioned basically from just the desire and that I wanted to build something, create something with my hands, and that's how it morphed into our company. And we're building great custom homes and doing renovations as well.
So Sandro, there's so many builders out there. How are you guys different from the regular builder out there in the industry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think I get asked enough of that when clients are interviewing me. What makes us different is that I'm a hands-on guy. We don't take on a ton of projects. The dollar making money. I mean, obviously it's necessary to run the business that way, but we focus more on the client's needs, and producing a quality project or a quality project at the end of the day that we're going to be really proud of, and the customer is going to be extremely happy with. I personally am on the projects every day. Every home we build, I'm there every single day. I might not be there 8 hours a day, but I'm there every day, making sure that everything is getting done properly, the quality's there, the tradesmen are showing up, the crucial aspects of it. And the thing is, I can tell by looking at stuff whether it's done right or wrong, and whether it needs to be fixed or if it needs to be, that things just aren't right. So there's a high level of quality control on the project every day.
So are you saying that other builders, some of them aren't hands-on?
Correct.
So Sandro, what I'm hearing you saying is that you're very hands-on and you also have the education. Is that the case with all builders out there?
Yeah, it's a good question, Gary. No, it's not. It isn't. A lot of builders out there may have the education and not necessarily the hands-on. They were say not a framer or part of the industry and kind of coming up through the ranks and learning how to build a home from the ground up. Which I find is a real problem out there right now. With me and what we do at Abstract Homes and Renovations, because I've been there, I've started that. We've did the excavation. I've done excavations. I've run big machines before. I've done that. I put foundations in before. So I can tell by looking at something whether it's done right or not. And also I've done my educational as well as that. So, I really have a broad range of know-how when it comes to build a houses. I think is something very important for our customers to know that that they have a good peace of mind that we're doing, and we know what we're doing, right? That's a huge thing, and some may not have that wide range of experience.
So, when you go to licensing, when you get the education to learn how to build a home, is it pretty much similar to what actually happens on the field?
Yeah, that's another great question. Not necessarily. What happens on paper is a lot. It's a lot easier to draw something on paper than it is to actually do it in the field. So no, you have to kind of be able to look at that and be able to use what's drawn on paper and translate that into the field. So it that's what I think we do good, is
Yeah.
we can streamline that process, right? In doing that, I know how it works. I know what it's on paper. I know what they're trying to achieve by that, and I can, kind of implement that. So that can be a real tough process.
So give me an example of something where the textbook says this, but it's not actually the case on the field.
Oh, well, let's even the box out windows. Say a boxed out window and
What's
stuff
a
like
box
that.
out window?
Well, something that projects from the building, and it's a window, but it's boxed out from the home.
Okay.
So it's framed out from the home. Like, there's a lot of structural things that we need to do with those windows now because in the past, they used to sag a lot, and they used to cave in a little bit. So I can know by looking at it how I need to frame that, or how I need to position that structurally wise, so it won't bend, or if it won't it won't sag, where the insulation points are, because again, they're out from the house, those kinds of things.
And so the education doesn't really teach you that about what to do in those particular cases, or?
Well, you're looking at a home, the design, all those things look good, but the customer doesn't realize that there's, those are adding a lot more complexity to the design, and how we have to, manage all those little things with that particular part, right?
Okay, and so sometimes, what are the dangers of someone who just has the education but doesn't have the field experience? Like, is it just going to cost the customer more, or?
Well, and a lot of those things won't show up in 5 to 10 years down the road. You'll see the windows kind of moving, or kind of buckling down a bit, and those kinds of things. And you pretty much have to rip that whole thing apart and reframe it again, or you'll hit some cold spots on the ledges and so forth like that if it's not insulated properly. Inspections don't go. The inspectors don't go far enough. They, with some of those things, they don't really look at the finer details of those points. So that would be that's actually a really good one right there, because a lot of people don't know that, and you, as a homeowner, would never know.
Okay. So the other question I had was, there are a lot of different types of builders out there, and they have different business models. Like, tell us about it. Like the typical person outside has no clue what types of builders are out there.
Correct. Yeah, that's there is different business models too, and I can't really speak into what they do but our business model was always been is to do the project basically one at a time. Or with very little overlap to the next project, and really focus and concentrate and be like 100% builder. There's a lot of guys out there like 85% that they'll get to a certain point and they'll just kind of move on to the next project without completely finishing it. We're right down to we finish everything. All the details, any callbacks, or if there is any callbacks, and those little details at the end, we're detailed. That's really what we do. So at the end of the day, there's no issues with the home.
Okay, and then in the industry, obviously builders have to follow the building code when building a property, right? So,
right.
Are there builders who go above and beyond and really does it make a difference, or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, exactly. There is a wide range, and people think that all builders are created equal, which is not true. There's the ones that try to get by just on the building code, and even at that, building inspectors they only can inspect what the code calls for. There's a lot of things that they can't see.
Such as?
Well, let's just take you're framing a wall up. And a lot of I've seen this before because I know guys do it. Say when you're nailing studs to a top plate or a bottom plate, they'll put the two nails, if they're doing a 2x4 wall, 3 nails of a 2x6 wall, but they'll put the nails so close together that when it's nailed together on the plate to the stud, they'll twist quite easily because they put the two nails so close together. They don't space the nails farther apart. They're just hitting the nail guns and just bang bang. The inspector can't see that.
Oh.
So you get a lot of twisting and buckling in that 2x material that you're putting on there. Sheathing sometimes on the outside, the inspector doesn't, necessarily look at the sheathing, especially on the second floors and stuff. They can't see.
What is sheathing?
So sheathing is basically your a structural component of a wall. It's on the outside, the outboard part of that wall.
Okay.
It could be 1/2-inch plywood, it could be 7/16 OSB, which is oriented strand board, on that, and nailing patterns. Sometimes they can't see up there, so the guys only put a couple nails in that sheet. They don't see it.
And how does that affect the end user?
Well, everything starts to come apart.
Oh.
You'll see it, later on down the road as things start to dry out in the home. You can see your walls kind of getting wavy and buckling a bit like that because all the lumber's starting to turn and twist. You're outside, depending on your cladding on the outside, it might start to buckle a bit more because it's not nailed properly. And usually you don't see those for years down the road, right?
And how do customers prevent? How do they watch out for that? Those kind of.
Well, they don't know.
Oh.
Customers don't know that. Those
Okay.
those are some of the finer details that you do. I guess you just have to trust your builder that they're hiring the right guys, to do the job.
Which brings me to the question: if you were looking to hire a builder to build your home, what kind of criteria would you look for in hiring a builder?
Interesting question. Yeah. I think the first thing would be, does he have hands-on experience? We in the industry now, there's a lot of people come from all over the place building homes, but do they have that experience of framing? Do they know how to frame a house? Back in the 70s, 80s, anybody that was a framer would typically progress to being a builder. That's how it was. There was nobody coming from other fields of the industry to come into building a house because they really had that hands-on experience. So that for me would be number one right there is a hands-on experience. Personality, can you get along with this guy? Right? Do you trust him? I think that personality, that trust issue right there. I always think about it. Would you invite the guy to your to your kid's birthday party or have dinner with him or something like that? I think that's really important because you can gain that level of trust. I think in that, so that trust is definitely up there as well.
How about track record? Is that important?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, then I would go to finding what has he done before, and talking to some people that he's built a home for. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same home that you're building. It doesn't matter. I think the experience, regardless of what you're building, that just having a testimony from a client that's say lived in one of your homes for 5 years or something like that, and I think because that really does the test of time really shows what that guy can do. So going back, never mind somebody that's just coming from a house that's brand new, but someone that's built, that you have built a home for, say in the 5 years, and then talking to that person.
Great. I know, for electricians, in order to become an electrician, somebody has to be an apprentice and work under an electrician. How about in the home building industry?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gary. Right now, there is a licensing system that's been put in place by the Homeowner Protection Office, so anybody coming into the industry at this point has an educational component, but also has to have some experience under another company, to be able to get that builder status anymore. Before there was no such thing in place, and anybody could just get their builder license with a small fee and be able to start building houses. So it's getting better, but still there's not necessarily that component of hands-on beforehand, because even though with the licensing system the way it is, even though you need to collect points and work under another say builder at that point, you still what's the right word for that? It doesn't necessarily mean that you actually were a framer, or that you had some kind of experience, hands-on experience in the home. That you can just do the educational component of it and then be considered a builder. So I don't think it goes deep enough into qualifications, what qualifications are for a builder.
Okay, great. So, Sandro, as a realtor in the industry, I hear a lot of people talking about builders cutting corners and a lot of shady practices. Like, I don't know if it's the truth or is it just myth, or can you elaborate on that and why, if they do cut corners, or are they just cutting corners or reducing costs, or maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of levels to that question. You hear cutting corners. Typically, there seems to be a wide range of say, let's use a price per square foot as an example. Here in the Vancouver market, there shouldn't be a huge range in there, but there is. And typically, you'll find that guys are actually cutting corners, or that the customer doesn't want to, or thinks that they're getting great quality for this low price that they somehow found a builder that'll do for an unrealistic price, and they have to. There's no, because they can't. They have to. All the products they're using have to be on the lower end of it, and so they'll just kind of fudge it and make it through the building, the inspections, and they'll just kind of make it through all these points, but the quality's not there, and they have to cut corners because that pricing is so low that there's no other way that you can do it without cutting corners.
So give me an example of where a client who pays a really low price per square foot to a builder, which areas does that builder where would they be typically cutting corners in?
Well, I'm going to start right off the bat with tradespeople. Right? There's no real policing system for tradespeople, so you could there's a wide range of tradespeople, right? Where you go from a tradesperson to a craftsman, and there's typically a price that you'll pay. Is a guy running his business properly? Is he up to date on his WCB? Does he have liability? Those things. Those are all operating costs that affect the overall price of what he's going to be charging to do whatever part of that job he needs to do. So and I know this from watching some of these guys, that they don't have all those kind of systems in place, so therefore their costs are a lot lower to operate, right? The guys that they have working with them are not necessarily, there's no policing there, so they can hire just about anybody, and they can, hey, do this or whatever we need to do, and that, again, your price becomes lower because the guys aren't really qualified to do it, but there's one guy that may know what he's doing on the site, and the rest of the guys have no idea. So the wages are a lot lower. So that's probably one of the most ones where they start cutting the corners, is the guys that they're using, to put that home together. And then we go into the materials that you're using. Let's say the foundation. Typically, say a 20 MPa mix, which is a lower grade foundation mix, is a lot of guys. So again, it's a lower grade mix. It's less money. People have no idea that a lot of these builders are using 20 MPa concrete when we use at least 25 MPa to 30 MPa on a foundation, and a better mix, better, stronger mix on that. Again, it's going to cost you more money to do that, but you're going beyond the code as when we do it, because I don't think that's good enough. I've seen what they look like, and they're not great, but the average person would never know, and you wouldn't even think about asking that question for most people, right? And then it just goes from there. Your dimensional lumber, if you're using your plate material, what we use is pressure treated material on the bottom plates on our homes.
What does that mean?
Well, on top of your foundation, typically there's say dimensional lumber. It'll be a 2x6 typically, and anything that's close to concrete, I like to use pressure treated material.
Pressure
treated.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Which means it's stronger.
Well, it's not stronger, but it's for rot, insects, and decay in that way. And if it gets wet, it doesn't start to rot out and stuff. So it's close to the foundation where there's a little bit of moisture there. I like to use pressure treated on that aspect of it, and areas that might have a little bit of moisture problems. And again, pressure treated material is more money.
So tradespeople, the materials. And I guess are those the two main areas where we're cutting corners? We're kind of because that's where you're really that's the two basic components of home. I've heard a lot about LEED certified buildings, and I now hear about it being more common in residential homes. What do you think about that? Is it truly environmentally friendly, or?
Yeah, I mean there are more homes that are being LEED certified. So that LEED is Leaders in Energy Efficient Design, and there's different levels of that. We don't see a whole lot of that. More there's a lot of different. There's a few different models of being energy efficient and concerned about the environment and stuff like that. That I think there's probably better models that I would probably use on that. But there's a criteria that you have to follow. And usually it comes with a cost. So that's why when people find out, really the cost at the end of the day, so they're not so much lean to go that way. But I believe in all, there's a few different models out there, and I believe that, it really is good for the environment because they are looking at where the product's made, where is it coming from. There's a whole plethora of information as far as, and a criteria that's involved in how to get that LEED home.
And is it usually like 25% more expensive or like 50% premium or?
Yeah, I mean, the prices are coming down now because there are more and more manufacturers are getting on the green build and starting to do that. So therefore, the price comes down. Just like your big screen TV back in 2000 was probably like $2,500, where you can buy the same TV now for $400. So as that becomes more acceptable and more manufacturers are producing those products, that the cost will come down. But I would say you're probably in the 20% zone right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another question I've always been curious about is, what's the day in life of a builder like?
What's a day in life of a builder like?
What does a builder typically do on a regular basis?
Get up and drink coffee. No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, typically, is getting up and looking at what's going on for the next day, right? I'll typically be organized as far as I'll have my day kind of planned out already, or that week planned out, and looking at what aspects of the build that we're on right now, and thinking ahead. Okay, who do I need? What day do I need this next tradesperson in? Where the materials coming from? Ordering materials, making sure that they're there for the people that are working on the site, and just basically almost like a conductor and orchestrating that process is making trying to make sure that everybody's kind of lined up properly on the job and that's going smoothly. Making obviously going to the site. And checking that out, and I don't mind picking up the hammer once in a while myself and doing some work if I need to do that.
I work with a lot of clients who, and we go see a lot of brand new homes. When I look at there's two types of homes that I see when they're brand new. Like some of them are like brand new, but they're average quality, and then some I can't really pinpoint it, but they're much higher quality. Like I'm not an expert in building, so. Like how can the public really be more educated and informed about these kind of when they're looking to buy a brand new home?
Well, I think it's really tough. I mean, obviously there's maybe the higher end homes as opposed to just your average spec home that's built out there. So
well, what's a spec home for those viewers out there?
So that's a builder that's we'll buy some land, build a home on it, in speculating that he's going to sell it when he's finished. So there's no homeowner involved at that point typically, and they just build the whole house out and they sell it when they're finished. Where obviously the custom home and a higher end home, usually custom home, because the customer is willing to wanting a better quality home and wanting it designed for themselves and how they're living.
So like cookie cutter home versus custom home, right?
Correct.
It's just different, depends on the client's preference, right? Whether they want to spend the premium to get a custom home or whether they just want something that they can live in for temporary.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So like, what would you, what kind of advice or tips would you give to someone who's looking to buy a brand new home or who's looking to, perhaps either buy a brand new home or hire a builder to build them a home? Like, what kind of advice would you give to someone like that?
Well, I guess looking at your budget, what's realistic, and how much you want to spend. But with that in mind, typically here in Vancouver, you don't see a whole lot of spec homes going anymore because it's not where there's big tracts of land where where a builder would buy 4 or 5 lots and then build spec homes on those things. You don't get that in Vancouver anymore. So spec homes are not typically what you would find here. So I think we deal a lot with clients is what end of the scale do you want to be on your home, right? We only go so low, and we won't build a say, a building code house, which I don't think is quite good enough. You know, and I get some people, you know, that's what they don't care about. They're only going to be there for a few years, and they don't really care about the quality. So I don't typically take those jobs on. We care about what we do, and you know, consequently, we're using better materials, better tradespeople, and it costs more money to build it. But so I would, you know, I would look. Again, look at the builder, who's built the house, what kind of track record he has of building particular homes. Again, that'll go, you know, and look in depth. I think is your first starting point when you're looking at a home.
Tell me about like your track record, and if clients want to learn more, where can they find more information about you, and how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go on abstracthomes.com and they can take a look at our website. There's great information on there. We have great testimonials on there. And then, yeah, we have reference lists too, so they want to talk to some of our previous clients. You know, by all means, they can, you know, call them up and they'd be happy to talk to them and just to see what we're all about. And then they can always call us. My number's on our website. They can phone me and we can have a chat and we can start the conversation. And
does it cost the public any money to have a chat with you about their plans, or?
No. We'll come in and do a free consultation.
Oh, okay.
And you know, we'll sit down with the clients, what they want to do, and you know, spend an hour, 2 hours with them, and there's no cost to that.
Great. So you know, thank you, Sandro, for being here with me and answering all these questions for the viewers out there.
Thanks,
and,
Gary.
I look forward to asking you more questions in another interview, and I wanted to learn more about different aspects of the building.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for watching my video. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Email me if you have any more questions. Thank you.